Okay, no. We don't need two countdowns. Thank you very much. Getting used to this system. All right, welcome. We are back again. Let me just go. Let's move this for a second. Right. Another Inspo and Chill. This is the third one, I believe. This time we're going to look at some web apps. Three new applications have been added to Mobbin, and we are back with Mobbin again. I will find some variation at some point, but for now, we'll stick with it. If you are watching on YouTube, there is also a referral code down below, so you can get 10% off and send a little present my way as well. But let's get into it. We'll have about half an hour today to talk through some stuff. So let's get this back up. As you can see, um, today we're going to look at definitely at least Frame IO and Copilot. I'm on the fence if we're going to go for Adobe. Maybe there was another one below here. We've got Tally, even though, did we look at that last time? I don't think so. But yeah, we'll definitely go through Frame IO, Copilot, see how it goes, and potentially another one as well. Yeah, so let's get into it. Let's start with Frame. So what is this Frame? I've actually heard this before because back when we were doing quite a few videos, this was a contender for like collaborative video editing. So I think, yeah, elevate your creative workflow to an art form. Wow, that's quite a creative statement. But yeah, I think it's around basically being able to edit videos and then share them and have multiple comments and reshare the iterations, etc. So acting like a kind of workspace and feedback place for not only the creators but also the clients that are receiving it as well. And we'll go through the highlights as usual. So what do they have for us here? I assume we've got like a login screen. Sorry, not login screen, a dashboard screen here after we've logged in. Dark mode. Let's comment on some some UI for a second, because I think there is a few things here that are interesting. We've got dark mode as soon as you log in, depending, I don't know if they've got their user system settings that are taking this through, but whoever's done this, you've got dark mode here, and it's quite nice with this gradient. Um, Definitely not a new thing, the kind of like gradients with the, I'm just going to say shiny edges. You've got kind of the glow that's percolating through the edges there, which is quite nice. Not a new thing per se, but still don't see it a lot. And I think it's a nice delighter, shall we say, that could help elevate the brand. So definitely marking this one in my head as a one to come back through for Inspo. And I think I could use it very soon because there's lots of ways you can have intro banners or just banners for new features, whatever it may be. This is cool, and yeah, like that start. So definitely we'll be getting Inspo there. They've got a grid layout for the workspaces that they have here, and yeah, I think that's been the main thing there. What do we have next here? So now we're creating a project. So we've got modals. Um, yeah, I guess nothing crazy here. You know, it's quite subtle with the shades. Something I will comment on that I'm working on myself, to be honest, is understanding more about the nuances for dark mode, because I think there are some dark modes that do look pretty good, and there are other dark modes that I really question. And what I guess when I say that, what I mean is that the contrast on some things just don't look as good. Um, like on the light mode, you get good contrast. You can see differences clearly. On dark mode, sometimes you can't. And this is an example where I am questioning this a little bit. It might also be because I've got my sunglasses on and I'm in the bright sun here. Very lucky to be on the balcony in Cape Town right now. So it might be that. And I'm just too chill for the inspo. But just something of note that I've realized lately is that, yeah, dark mode. I haven't done lots of dark mode. I'm working on a dark mode right now, and yeah, I would want some more inspo. So I'm going to put this down as not an inspo for the dark mode, but in my mind, I think it could be good. I might do a future episode just on dark mode and look at the variations. But in terms of this, yeah, not a whole much to talk through. So let's keep going. Here we've got the actual you're in the project now, and they've got two levels of sidebars here. I think it's quite interesting because there are more and more when it comes to SaaS applications. You need to have multiple layers of navigation. This is quite a good way of doing it. I'll definitely come back to this for Inspo, where you've got the very thin sidebar, and then you've got another sidebar in the app as well. Because I assume this one expands, and you need the abilities for it to collapse. Because if you had two sidebars now that are both expanded, that's too big. But yeah, got that there. Always remember the breadcrumbs. Been looking into breadcrumbs lately. You got to remember to have them here because things get messy without it. So breadcrumbs here. Lots of different ways to do breadcrumbs. This is quite simple, to be honest. So again, might come back here for a simple breadcrumb because it's not too bad. But yeah, I'm gonna keep going. Not like a whole, not finding too many things to talk about here. Oh, this is interesting here though. Actually, in the top right, I'm trying to understand what this is. This is it's normally like on Notion. I think of Notion because you can change the side panel to either be like a full screen or just back to a side panel. This I'm not sure what this is. Like, what layout are we in now? Maybe it's the sidebar because you've got the sidebar here. Maybe it's moving where this bar is, but that doesn't make a lot of sense. Interesting. Yeah, not quite sure what that uh, is going to be used for. But I'm hoping if it does work well, the icons make sense because it is good to have more options than one. But yeah, I think that's it. And we also have a comment coming in. Hi, bro. Hey, bro, back to you, man. Thank you for hanging out in Inspo and Chill. I hope you're having a good time watching and then you get some good content. And we have another one. The color scheme is used well with two sidebars. Yeah, I think you make a good point there. I didn't pick up on that there, where it's a subtle difference between the background, but it does actually have just enough to differentiate yourself. And I think there's a subtle difference. Again, I'm not well placed to talk about color maybe this episode because my sunglasses in the sun. It's a very privileged challenge that I'm facing here. But I definitely agree it does look quite natural. So it's a great point. Um, Thank you for that, Juana. Let's keep moving. um, okay, I'm probably just going to skip over this one here. You've got a little selection. It's quite big, which is quite weird. Granted, I don't really understand too much, but I'm going to keep skipping over here to see if we've got anything more interesting. Okay, here we go. We've got multiple uh, panels now. We've got our nav bar on the left. We've got our left panel. We've got our main section, the right panel. Okay, everyone, stop what you're doing. If you are not looking now, look at the screen. This is good inspo for multiple panels. Because yes, whilst one already pointed out that the two panels on the left were already separated quite well, we've got a third one now, and I've done a good job of separating all that information. So this is good when you're having multiple panels, and there's a lot happening here, to be honest. But I think it's done well, and it feels the fact that if you're focusing on a particular panel, you still feel the other screen is there, but it's not too overwhelming. So definitely some good inspo there regarding multiple panels and layouts. Let's keep going. Okay, now this is the part where I was talking about you can share the video back and people can comment on it. Here we've got Alex Smith, Sam, and Janice. And Leonard at the bottom there. Oh, and Jeanette. Wow, this is a busy video we've got here that's being commented. It's some great testing and account creation from whoever created this on Mobbin. But yeah, what I like here is you've got that subtle differentiation, which is quite cool. I wouldn't really call it a micro interaction, but more like attention to detail. And I'm talking about this here with Sam because I'm going to assume, and my assumption is correct, I've confirmed it, that this card is highlighted because we are at 000 and this comment is 000. So I imagine as we get closer to each comment the cards highlight. And it's a nice little difference, but this is good to make sure that you're helping point the user in the right direction on what's happening there. So good attention to detail. Really like that there. And I've started to use these segmented pickers more often, and I like it here. I'm preferring them more than tabs. Dare I say it's a trend? Dare I say, but I'm preferring these more to tabs now. You could arguably call this a tab, but I think the technical term is a segmented control. But I do like this style. Nice and tactile. I think it came from, I think iOS first had these, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, anyway, they're appearing more and more in web apps now. And I think it's good. I like it. Anything else we can take from here? No, I think we're good. I think we're good. Let's keep going. Notifications bar. Yeah, yeah. Okay, I can see the color here on the left a bit more now. And yeah, you've got like a little divider here as well, which is quite good. Uh, oh, and they've got this gradient on the nav bar. I mentioned this in the previous one, I think. This gradient on the nav bar is good. Subtle, subtle, but I like that. Um, let's keep going. Pricing. Again, good, decent use of gradients throughout. Probably a point to note for myself and others: when you start using gradients, you got to have maybe not a full blown plan, but some kind of plan so that A, you don't overdo it with gradients, and two, if you do start using the gradients, you want to try and be consistent with how you use it. I know it sounds simple, um, but yeah, I think it's just like it's cool to have a gradient, and I bigged it up at the beginning when we saw this stuff here, but we just got to be careful. Um, uh, yeah. Uh, okay, and we're back to the landing page. So have we completed the app? Yes, we completed the highlight. Cool. Okay. How are we doing for time? Yeah, we're doing okay for time. I might have a quick look at the rest of this because the theme's quite nice. I'll point out that this is quite a new, and I guess they are really going for this kind of theme of light, gradient, and dark, combining those three together. And I think it's pretty good. You do see that theme throughout, which I think is good. They have thought about the gradients and lights, and they're doing it throughout here. Scrolling through anything interesting very quickly. This is cool here, how they've got the the aspect ratio of the video to be portrait here. I don't know if this is definitely for a portrait film, but if it's not, it still looks pretty good, and that portrait is something different. Uh, cool. Right, let's leave it there. 203 screens, frame IO, pretty good. I'm gonna wrap it up by saying I think good inspo for multi panels. Um, Particularly this screen here. Good inspo for gradients. They've got the gradient here, they've got the gradient in the sidebar, they've got gradient in their pricing. Used quite well, sparingly, not too much, but it adds impact when they do. So yeah, decent from Frame. Let's go back and jump into Copilot. Now, if you had read the title before, you might have thought that I was talking about the Copilot in the software engineering world, which I believe helps assist coding. I don't know how relevant that is anymore. Actually, that's not true. It definitely is relevant. I was thinking of the newer tools that you've got with Bolt, and V0 and Data Button, and of course you've got Cursor. There's all these kind of Replit, all these kind of tools that can help assist with coding now. But of course, those are kind of like pure, helpers, or do everything for you, whereas Copilot in the software engineering world is meant to be more of an assistant. But anyway, I digress. But we're just talking generally about stuff in the product design and tech world. So coming back from that diversion, we've got Copilot, which is not the AI assistant for coding. It is client portal software for service businesses. Something very useful for zero design back in the day. Would have been very useful. But yeah, let's go through this here. It's, I guess, going to be portal based. It's definitely going to be very B2B heavy. There might be some meta stuff here where we've got like it's B2B to B. So that could be good if you're in the B2B to B space or B2B to C space. You're seeing that extra layer here. So hopefully we can get some inspiration for those types of things. Jump into highlight one. So here we've got a light theme here. Interesting use of this green border, top border here. Let's see how they use it throughout the rest of it. But I guess it's their kind of like their accent, their kind of extra defining characteristic of their brand, which could help as well. Um, Maybe it's also being used subtly to say this is something here that you need to focus on and take action, which I think you do need to do here. So could be some good inspo around if you are trying to make action happen. Do you want to have any type of extra pointer or nod toward that direction, which I think is quite good. Um, and I guess from a UX point, it's quite interesting that this is meant to be a step, the various steps you take here. So this is like step one, create test client. Okay, cool. I might have gone for numbers here or like a line down the middle. I like how it's separated, how you have like the high level steps, and then you've got the detail here. It's always good to have that detail, and they've been able to fit it into this card using this left right structure. That's quite good. And they've got an illustration here, which I think is also good. So I like the general format, but I was a bit confused by the fact this was like one after the other. So I might change that. But this is a good format for a card. So if you need to think of like onboarding, um, and yeah, and particularly when it comes to onboarding, like actually in the app, not like the very beginning, like welcome to the platform, here's A B C, like this is in the app onboarding here, right? So like they're actually in the app and they're telling you to finish the onboarding. They've got the various tasks there, so that's quite a neat idea, both executed well, I think, from a like UX UI point of view to include the elements, but also from a product standpoint where recognizing the fact that not everyone's gonna maybe complete the entirety of onboarding if you have one, or that they might do it over steps, or giving them some extra guides. So this, I think, is a good inspo there for like onboarding. Let's keep going. We have just a list of clients. It looks like. Yeah, nothing crazy here. We'll keep going. Okay, we have another panel. I think today is a day of multiple panels because we've got our left navigation panel now, we've got our right navigation panel. And this is quite interesting because in this panel, just small details, but this panel only goes up to doesn't go up to top of the page, it goes up until the header bar here. So it finishes there. And let me just quickly, I digress, but let's do a quick comparison. Is this because I always have that question of should the side panel be like full height or should it come under the header? So let's go back to our frame.io. Here we go. Okay, so that's the right panel there with the comments. So that panel does only go up to the header and it doesn't go above the header, which is interesting. Okay, so that's similar. But what about, there's another screen, wasn't there, where we had the three, oh, it's this one here. Okay, yeah, again, it goes up to the header. Okay, interesting. Yeah, because from my thought, my current mental model or thought process around this was to go all the way up to the top. And I guess it's slightly different because they're using their header as a higher level of hierarchy, so that makes sense. Coming back to here, you don't have that higher level of hierarchy. It's just the page you're on, which is quite interesting. So yeah, so it's something to think about there, I guess, in terms of the height of panels for me anyway. Maybe not for everyone else. But yeah, let's keep going. The side panels. Oh, this is cool. This is creating description previewing. Okay, so we're just previewing inline previews. A broader point I'm going to take this to, which I love this aspect, is giving feedback to your users. And I definitely think I mentioned this in probably every single inspo and chill, and hopefully that will internalize it more. That I'll remind myself to give more feedback to the users because yes, I think you can apply this outside of a direct thing where okay, you are going to give them an output, so you can show them the output here, which is very cool. Small UI challenges. The border looks quite heavy here. The border just looks a bit heavy. I don't know if we need to have that. It's giving it a little bit of a icky vibe. But uh, definitely It's called Show the Preview. So yeah, I think if you're not looking and you haven't heard this, probably don't need to look, but just take away, how are you giving your feedback to users? How are you showing them exactly what's going to happen next or what the expected outcome is? Good one to remember. Okay, here we have more panels, more sections. You know, the SaaS apps these days, they're getting complex. And here I'm going to say, I'm actually not a huge fan of what's happening here. So this would be an example of one I wouldn't get inspo for, because what we've got our gray side navigation on the left. We have our white panel with the gray borders. We then have the right hand side, and then you've got this. I don't know if it's a sidebar that comes out or if it's permanently there for showing progress, but it's got a shadow. Um, and I think this is now too much. You've got like so many different styles across one screen. It's not giving me cohesion. So if you're not looking, don't look. I'm sorry, no, don't look. Go away, because this is not good. Um, New workflow, and definitely this is a trending thing now when it comes to workflows. We've got connectors, of course. We've got this gray dotted background. I'm not sure where it comes from. It's good. I think it makes sense, but I say it makes sense, but I'm trying to figure out why it makes sense, because when I think of dotted backgrounds, I think of um, like is it called graph paper that I used to use like during maths or something, where I was drawing like you use the dots to help you draw or whatever. I can't remember what subject it's in, but it was for that. And I'm not sure how the connection comes here, but it does make sense. Slash, it's cool, so we'll go with it. So yeah, dotted paper for workflows. Um, okay, this one here. Overall, I'm going to say I don't want this to be a critique. I'm definitely critiquing a few things, but overall, the style of a few things keep changing. And this is maybe a reminder for myself and others when we're designing our apps, is to try and keep it simple rather than getting too creative. Or maybe even the thing is, you might not be getting too creative, but you might be taking inspiration and not adapting it to your own. Because here it does feel like there's too many different things. Like this screen here with a very white, plain background, grey border, but then some random shadow. It feels very different to this screen where you've got the grey dotted workflow. So even though I said this is cool, it's feeling different, and that is also different to this one here. So there's just like, make sure looking at your app from page to page, and does it feel again cohesive. Um, Anything else take up on here? Some drop downs in a side panel, accordion style in a side panel. That's quite useful, because side panels can have a lot of information and drop downs. That's not bad. It's good to have. Hopefully this would come up with accordion. It doesn't have the tags here, but I'm hoping this would come up for accordion here, because that would be quite good to have on like a side panel. New article, yeah, fairly standard, and we're back to the heading. Cool. Okay. Yeah, I think we're done with this one. Is there anything beyond the highlights that we've looked at here? We've got login. I mean, I think, to be honest, it's a quick look, but like what they have on the website, and then even this login screen looks far more interesting than their style in the majority of the product. Although I say that, okay, wait, hang on a second before you judge too soon. Some of these screens are quite good. This is the screen we saw here with the kind of accent and the green, which I also thought wasn't too bad. And you do have the shadows here, so that's cool. And I think we probably should have continued the shadows, if we have these shadows here, continue them throughout the rest of it. But I think bringing in shadows and then not having shadows is a bit much. But anyway, this is good. Then we go on to the others. See, we've got these more shadows in the cast down below. It's a good use of illustration with a text. That's definitely a good thing. Couple of good things here. We have the resources that are in a list, and they've gone for like the full width list rather than trying to put them into a grid. I think it works well when you have the illustration or imagery next to it. Like these rows look pretty good, nice and clear. Remember, people don't hate scrolling. People are fine to scroll, so you don't have to pack it all in. So it's nice and spacious. That's good. Here, a little less in love with it, because you don't have the imagery, and so you do have a lot of empty space on the right. But obviously, you don't want to change between these. But yeah, I think um, even so, that image, it still is pretty good. Of the hierarchy, we've got title, description, a kind of secondary call to action, and then tertiary link. So yeah, pretty good, some decent card inspiration here, and like how it's put together. Cool. Okay, yeah, I think we'll call that one a day. Um, call it a day for that one. Sorry, and last one. Yeah, let's go with Adobe. Let's go with Adobe. It might be a bit of a wild card because I've never actually been into. What is this? What is even Adobe? I've never actually. Okay, what is Adobe? I know what Adobe is. It's like that really prehistoric company that came before Figma, right? But I mean, like I've never been on their platform like this. I just use the apps, right? So, um, what do we have here? They've got how many highlights do we have? Okay, yeah, there's only a few highlights. Let's go through it. There are some interesting stuff here because from a product or UX standpoint, how are they using this and how are they adding value? Because they have a bunch of the apps here, for example, and I'm just saying, look, if I'm going to use Photoshop, I just open Photoshop. Why am I coming here? What's the value? So they've got a dashboard essentially. They're calling it home, and they've got lots of quick starts. So quick starts to your apps, quick starts to templates. This is good. This is quite useful now because quick starts to the apps, I don't think is a game changer. Like if I'm going to use Photoshop a lot or After Effects, I'm just going to command spacebar and then go into my app. Command spacebar if you're on a Mac. If you're on a Windows, I feel sorry for you. But yeah, start with templates, create images from text prompts. This is good. Okay, stop what you're doing. If you're not looking, look now. There are some good stuff on this homepage. Start with templates is great because I imagine as well these templates could transcend or be across the various different apps. So you might have some that relate to Photoshop, others that relate to After Effects, etc. Maybe it's related to your use. I don't know. You get creative there, but this is good. So always giving your users a quick start point to go. Secondly, this is good here where you're bringing out a particular feature because in here, I don't know how this actually, if it needs to open the Adobe Express app because it's, Gen AI and Adobe Express, but it's cool that you have a deep start point here. Like you're not just being like, hey, try this feature, click the button and it opens in the app. You're actually getting to type in the text here. So that's really cool. That's giving me another reason to come back here. So I like that here. And then you've got your recent stuff down below. Yeah. Yes, it's good. It is good. But I wouldn't say that's game changing. But I think the game changing things here that makes this homepage great is these two sections here, which is very, very cool. Let's keep going. We're scrolling down. We've got recent. Did this change as you scroll down? Wow. Did this really happen, or was this just it was taking different screenshots? Because like here you've got like the image view, and here you've got the list view. Ah, they did change it. Okay, they clicked this icon here. Yeah, I was gonna say if it went from a grid view as you hit the page, and then it went to a list view to scroll down. I'm thinking, is that a good thing? Have I just made that up? Have I just created a new interaction? Is it good? We don't know. But anyway, that didn't happen. They changed the view. So we've got our list of recents here. Nothing crazy. And now we're into the app section. Yeah, not a huge fan of how this looks. Like a lot is happening. But one thing I do like that is good is you do have these standout things. So um, having some variation between the cards, and in this case, it looks like an ad, but it's not. Okay, hang on a second. That's useful because if it was an ad, I'd be like, of course, you make it stand out so you can make some more money. But why do Adobe need ads in this? It's actually tutorials. Now, I quite like that. Again, it feels like a bit of a quick start, but it's pointing out you ways to get started. So good to have a differentiation, and that's probably something you can keep in mind. Um, I don't love these other cards, but again, I don't know if I have an alternative, to be honest. So it's not really helpful. Um, okay, we've got our files. It's a lot. I didn't expect it to be so much, but I guess there's, you can find things quite easily with having this top section on the left and then a subsection here. So maybe that's a point that if you do have a lot of things in your app, maybe don't be afraid to have this multi-level navigation where if you go into the apps here, you've got this on the top and you've got tabs. When you come into the files, you've actually got a second level navigation here on the left. So you can vary that up depending on how deep it is and if it's going to make sense. So that's something good to know as well. If you want multi-level navigations, varying navigations, Adobe is actually a good one to come back to because they have it. Not saying the UI is great, not saying it's bad, but I think for actually getting inspo on that type of thing, that is pretty good. So multi-level navigations, Adobe is the one to come to. What else was I going to say here? I was going to say something else. Nope, I can't think of it. So we're going to move on. Oh, actually, no, I've got it. Yeah. I'm not sure if I love it, but I do like it because it's different, and I think it is pretty cool. I'm just not sure if I love it. That's this rounded edge here. If we think back to like when we have our classic other navigations, you'd always just have the straight, or you'd have this tied together with this left navigation. Having this rounded edge here just gives it a little bit of a edge, shall we say? Pun definitely intended. I actually don't love how it then rounds off here on the edge though. I prefer if that went all the way. I think that'd give it a little bit more boom, as Thierry Henry says. But nevertheless, it's cool, it's different, it adds a bit of edge, so I do like that. What is this? What page are we on here? I can't quite tell. Explore free libraries. Okay. Not great that I can't tell from navigation, but cool page. This I like the page, the ratio of imagery to text to call to action, that kind of stuff. Like, there's a lot of text here, which I think normally you might not have so much, but the imagery is also quite big, so fair enough, and it's good. I'm going to compare this to the screen we were at before. I completely skipped over this. This is very meh, but yeah, whatever. This here though is a complete contrast where you don't have imagery and it feels very bland. Again, I'm not saying that you would drastically change this, but there's a big difference between this and this. I might get a little bit more creative here and have like maybe a banner, like a top banner or something for these cards, and you still have the logo, like of After Effects and the purple. And if it's After Effects with purple, your banner might be purple, and that way you've got like a cool subtle nod towards it, and it's a lot easier to find if you're people that recognize different colors, etc. So yeah, that's maybe how I'd spruce this page up. But yeah, anyway, I'm not here to critique, but good inspo. This is nice. I like the previews of the font and how they're in this nice cards. Very, very cool. I'm trying to compare this to Google Fonts, where you have like a whole bunch of fonts listed out. And this obviously, there's more happening on this page, but this actually looks nicer. It's a different use case for sure, but this is a very nice, neat way of doing it. The light border makes me focus on the font, and the font difference is good. So nice stuff there. Notifications, meh, leave that. And I think we're probably there. One more account screen. I don't love how when we're here, we've now ignored that rounded edge. I feel like it could have made itself there as well. It was slightly rounded, but not loads. Yeah, okay. I think we might call it there. Yeah, you've got some payment stuff, blah, 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 blah. Nah. We'll do some focus stuff another day on particular components, particular workflows. But I think for now, we'll leave that for Adobe. Better than I was expecting. Much better than I was expecting. I thought it'd be a bit of a meh. But summary for this one, I'd say, is the home screen is good. They've got particularly, well, really these two bits here. Start with templates, create images from prompts. And this is a use case where your homepage lacks a bit of a oomph. Like, your users are going to come here because, well, it's going to be a starting point, and like you might have recent documents, files, things to look at for sure. But what can really help them progress some of their workflows, I think, is the question that you need to ask here, and the inspo that I think Adobe have done well. Because starting with templates, having a deep link to a feature, or not deep link, but a deep way to start with a feature by actually typing what you want to generate the images, these are good things. So I want you to start in your brain as you're listening to me, drawing the parallels to your home screen, your dashboard. What things could help get my users on their way faster? The thing that I saw from the last inspo was actually having a way to also showcase some of the new features that you launch as well. That could be something on here. But aside from that, I like what Adobe have done here. So great takeaway on the dashboard. The other thing that I thought was cool was the multi-level navigation. I say cool, but I mean good inspo if you have to do it, because they've got a lot of happening here. So good inspo for that. And lastly, a small thing, but just the rounded edges, I think, of this our page here was quite interesting and quite different. A way to stand out amongst a plethora of very generic apps, web apps that we see these days. Amazing, amazing, very demure, very mindful. Um, Insert many other brain rot phrases here, but that is it. I'm going to read my screen, and we're going to end on this background here behind me, and then maybe we'll go a little bit more behind me there as well. Very nice. I just got to show it off because you don't get it all the time. But yeah, another inspo and chill. I hope you've enjoyed it, whether you're watching live on the replay. And yeah, subscribe, join for more. Leave a comment. Let me know what things you would like to see more of, what things you'd like to see less of. But I'm on my third week now and I'm having a good time. And this is ultimately for me. If it can help anyone else, great. But I'm having a good time learning things, and we iterate. I'll see you in the next one.